Good morning to the 12 tribes of Yasharahla that are scattered to the four corners of the world. I am coming to you today with another video, and I want to give you all this greeting. Well, in Hebrew, Deuteronomy 6 and 4. Here, well, it reads, Hear, O Israel, Ahaya, our Elohim is one. Um, Shema Yasha'Allah, Ahaya, Elahaya, Nawa, Akkad. So we serve a power, we serve a Elohim that is one. He is not a trinity. And all right, so let's move on. So in today's, I have been pressed. I've been pressed and I've been pressed to release this video. This video is going to be, I'm going to entitle it The Calm Before the Storm, but we are going to discuss the wilderness. And we know that when we were in the Christian church, there was a lot of deception, so much deception that we are trying to find our way through. But there's a lot of deception, this rapture deception that in the last days we won't have to, we won't be here. We're going to be raptured. We're not going to go through the tribulations, and stuff like that. And even those of us that are finding out, okay, we've been lied to about his name. We've been lied to about uh who the true people are. We've been lied to about with all the pagan um Sunday worship and all the paganism that was inserted. So we're trying to break our way out of all that. But even in coming into the truth in this truth movement, there's still a lot of in this period of awakening, there's a lot of people that are still saying that we're going to be in the wilderness. We're not going to the Most High is going to put his people in the wilderness and they will be protected and they won't have to um deal with anything that's going on, in the world, because they're going to be covered in the wilderness. Let's go through scripture because the Most High has told, he gave me an open vision a few years ago and told me to warn the people. And so I see that we're not, as a body, we're not prepared for truly what the Bible tells us is going to come. So there's just going to be a lot of reading today. I don't think I have anything to really share from my screen, but I will at the end of the video play a part of the recording that I made a few years ago. And so I'm going to start today at Matthew 24. We're going verse 4 and 5. I won't read, I'll just verse 4 and 5 is disciples ask Messiah, when will these things be and what will be a sign of thy coming? And so I'll pick up from there. The first thing Yashaya says in verse 5 is, for many shall come in my name, saying that I am Messiah, and shall deceive many. And here you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you not be troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, pestilences, earthquakes in diverse places. All of these are the beginning of sorrows. Okay, so he says here, the first thing that he says is deception. Many will come in my name, saying I am Christ, and shall deceive many. So he doesn't mean, many coming in his name, walking around, crazy people walking around saying, I'm Christ. He's saying People are going to have my books. They're going to use my name. They're going to use my life. They're going to use me and say that I'm Christ. And they're going to say that they are with me or of me, but they shall deceive many. So I'll pick up at verse 9. And ye shall, excuse me, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then many will be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall arise, and shall deceive many. So this is the second, by the time we get to verse 11, this is the second time that he notes false Christ or false prophets deceiving many. And because the iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Because of the wickedness in the earth, love for your neighbor, well, people won't care about that. Their heart to be cold, and it's only about self. And we are in that age where everyone is just about me, my, me, myself, and I, and not concerned about their brother or their neighbor. Verse 13 reads, but he that endures to the end, the same shall be saved. So he that endures to the end of wickedness and iniquity in the earth, of famines, pestilence, earthquakes, of being delivered up and afflicted, possibly being killed and being hated for his name's sake, being betrayed, those people that endure to the end of all of that shall be saved. So now I'm going to jump down to and read verses 21 through 31 of Matthew 24. For then shall there be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, and no will ever be. And except those days be shortened, then no flesh will be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So he's saying there's going to be so much tribulation in the earth that basically, if he does not cut the days short, so he has a time that he is presumed to come back, but he said he's going to have to shorten that time and come back a little sooner, or no flesh will be saved because of because of everything that will be going on in the earth. Okay, so verse 23. And then if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is Messiah, or there, believe it not, for there shall arise many false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it was possible, they shall deceive the very elect. All right, third time, many false Christs, many false prophets, and deception in the earth. And this deception is being done through great signs and great wonders in the earth. Behold, I've told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. Behold, he is at the Ashbury revival, believe it not. I just threw that last one in there. But as the lightning come out of the east and shines unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Adam be. And immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Adam in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Adam coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, and from one end of heaven to the other. All right. So that's a whole lot. That's a mouthful. He says immediately after the great tribulation, after seeing the sun darken, after seeing the moon not give its light, after seeing the powers of heaven and earth be shaken, after seeing the stars fall from heaven, like I guess in during the time of Sodom and Gomorrah, where meteorites were showering down from heaven, destroying it. After seeing all of that, then shall the Son of Man appear in heaven, and all eyes will see him. He said, as lightning strikes from the east to the west, everybody's gonna lay eyes on me. You haven't, for everybody, for people that saying like Christ is here, Christ is there, oh, come to this church, these great powers, they're healing, they're doing miracles. He's saying that's not me. That's not me. And I think that in the book of Hebrews, it says that as Satan is deceiving himself as an angel of light, so are his ministers, being appear in the earth as angels of light, and they are not of Christ. He didn't send them. So now I'm going to go to Mark 13 verses 12 and 13. Okay, Mark chapter 13, starting at verse 12. And this is basically a synopsis of the same story we just read in Matthew, where he's asked what will take place in the last days. And he tells them in verse 12, now the brother shall betray the brother unto death, the father, the son, the children shall arise up against their parents and shall cause them to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But he that shall endure to the end shall be saved. He that shall endure to the end shall be saved. The end of being betrayed by your brother, being betrayed by your mother or your father or your child, and being put to death. That is what he says to look for. So now I'm going to go to Zechariah 13 and read verses Zechariah 13 and read verses 8 and 9. Okay, Zechariah 13 starting at verse 8. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the higher, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third part shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and I will refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them, and I will say, it is my people, and they will say, Ahia is my Elohim. So that's another deception that's going on. All of Israel is not, whether Jew or Gentile, all of Israel is not going to make it into the kingdom. 2/3 of Israel will be cut off won't make it into the wilderness. 2/3 are going to be cut off before the wilderness even takes place. 2/3 are going to die in famine, by the sword, and through pestilence before the 1/3 is taken into the wilderness. And when that 1/3 is taken into the wilderness, they are going to be tried by a higher to go through the fire. They're going to have to be refined as gold and silver. Okay? And they're going to have to be faithful through it all. And still, can't, like Job, still can't, blaspheme him or denounce him or anything like that. So now I'm going to read the book of Ezekiel 20, starting chapter 20, verses 33 through 38. Ezekiel 20, starting at verse 33. As I live, says the sovereign Ahia, surely with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm, my fury will be poured out, and I will rule over you. and I will bring you out from the people, and I will gather you out of the countries wherein you were scattered, with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm, and with fury poured out. So he says that again. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there I will plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded unto your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Mizraim, or Egypt. So will I plead with you, saith the sovereign Yashaya. And I will cause you to come to pass under the, and I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of covenant, and I will purge out from amongst you the rebels and them that transgress me, and I will bring them forth out of the country wherein they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Yasharahla, and ye will know that I am Yashaya. Okay, so he says here that he's going to, with a mighty hand and with his outstretched arm. Who is that? His right hand, his mighty hand and outstretched arm is Yashaya. So through his son Yashaya, he's going to bring us out. He's going to lead us into the wilderness, and there Yashaya is going to plead with us face to face, as he pleaded with our forefathers in the land of Egypt. And then he says in verse 37, and I'm going to cause you to pass through the rod. You're going to go through some chastening. Every bit of Babylon is going to be purged out of you, because that won't step foot in my land. Just as before with your forefathers, I had to purge out Egypt from amongst them, and many of them died in the wilderness and didn't get to see the land. And then he says in verse 38 that he's going to purge out the rebels. He's going to purge out those that transgress him. And then after that, the remnant that's left will be allowed to come into Yasharahla, into the promised land. So what does he mean, those that transgress against him in the wilderness? Think about it, y'all. Moses, the patriarch Moses that delivered millions of our ancestors from captivity in Egypt, did not get to go into the land. Because why? He transgressed. He was told to speak to the rock, but out of his frustration, he struck it. And he did not get to enter into the land. So think about this. Through the rod of chastening that we have to go through, it could be hunger, it could be starvation or thirst. If I'm thirsty in the wilderness, or if I'm hungry, does that give me permission, if I see a rabbit or a squirrel or a possum, can I say that the Most High has provided for me in the wilderness? Is that still lawful for me to eat? No. We still have to obey his laws, statutes, and commandments, which include the dietary laws. And food will be scarce. But if you decide, if you see a squirrel and say, oh, Yashaya has provided something for me to eat, enjoy your last meal, because you're going to be purged out and you won't make it into the kingdom. This is another way that they tripped us up, because they came up with clean foods and unclean foods. There is no unclean food. There is no such thing as unclean food. There is only food that's lawful for us to eat. If he did not name it, it is not considered food. If it does not fit those dietary laws, it's not consumable. Is not to be consumed as food. It's not unclean food, it's not food. We're not supposed to eat it. For instance, he tells us to only eat things out of the sea with fins and scales. We're not supposed to eat catfish, something that's slick, that doesn't have any scales. We're not supposed to eat bottom feeders, such as crabs, lobster, shrimp, the arthropod family. Those are water arthropods. They are in the same family as caterpillars, as roaches, cockroaches, ants. Those are in the same family. But what we call earth arthropods or land arthropods, those are sea arthropods. Those are bottom feeders. Their job is to clean the earth, the bottom of the ocean floor, to eat the algae and the different toxins that are on the bottom of the ocean floor. And we're not supposed to consume that because they don't have a digestive system. They don't have pores or a way to detox the toxins that they're taking in. So it stays in them and then we consume it. So a lot of the disease that our bodies are going through are the plagues of Egypt. And he told us that if we follow his dietary laws, we wouldn't have to deal with the plagues of Egypt. The Egyptians were eating any and everything, and that's why they were dealing with a lot of plagues. And so a lot of the things that they've named or given names as diseases or ailments are actually just your body reacting to what you're putting in it. All right, let's move forward. Now I'm going to go to Revelations 12, verse 11. Revelations 12, starting at verse 11. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And they loved not their lives unto the death. So, two ways that the followers of Messiah overcame Satan in the last days. They overcame by the blood and by the word of their testimony. And if you look up the word of if you look up the word testimony in the Hebrew, it is the word martyres, the root word from martyrs or martyr. So they overcame by the blood, covered by the word of their testimony or their martyrdom. They were martyred, and they loved not their lives unto the death. That's Revelations 12, verse 11. Now we're going to jump to Revelations 20 and 4. And I saw thrones, and they that sat on them, and judgment was given to them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yashaya, and for the word of Ahiah, and with had not worshipped the beast, nor his image, nor received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Messiah 1,000 years. So, who are the people that were beheaded and martyred for the witness of Yashaya if all of the saints were in the wilderness? Unless you're believing in the replacement doctrine, the replacement theology doctrine that his true people Israel had been replaced with the spiritual Israel, which is the church and all this stuff, which is false doctrine. All right, so now I'm going to jump back to Revelations 2 and 10. Revelations 2, verse 10. Fear none of those things which you shall suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation for 10 days. But be thou faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. Let me read it a second time for those on the back row who didn't hear. Fear none of those things which you shall suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you in prison, that some of you will be tried, and ye shall have tribulation for 10 days. And be thou faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. Okay, so I'm just as I'm checking off my notes. I'm checking off my notes, my scriptures as I read them to make sure I don't leave anything out. But regardless of what our lot is, some of us will go through the wilderness, through the fire, and be tried and be purified as gold and silver, and be able to walk into the kingdom as Caleb and Joshua did. But some of us will be beheaded. Many of us will be jailed for 10 days. And at the end of those 10 days, he tells us what's coming after that: death. But don't worry about that, because you will receive the crown of life. They're going to take off this crown, but you will be given the crown of life. So now I'm going to go to Hebrews chapter 2, verse 15. Hebrews chapter 2, verse 15. And no, I'm going to read verses 14 and 15. For as much as the children are partakers of flesh and blood, he also himself likewise took part of the same, that through death he might destroy him that had power over death, that is, the devil. So he's telling us that through death we overcome the enemy that has power over the devil. Well, he overcame, and we will overcome the same way. Verse 15 reads, and deliver them who through the fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage. So through the fear of death, you are a slave. You are subject to bondage of the enemy. Yashaya came to set the captives free, and those who are free in him are free indeed. If you are fearful of losing your life, you are still bound. You are still in bondage, and you are not worthy of the kingdom. So now I'm going to go to Revelation 21, verse 8. Excuse me, y'all. I tried to mark all of the pages. Revelation 21, starting at verse 8. But the fearful, the unbelieving, and the abominable, the murderers, the whoremongers, the sorcerers, and idolaters, and the all liars shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. So I find it interesting that they named the fearful and unbelieving being thrown into the lake of fire before the murderers, the sorcerers, the liars, and all these other abominable people. The fearful and unbelieving, if you were fearful and you were unbelieving, and you did not have enough faith in a higher, in his son, you were still bound. You died still bound to the enemy and still a slave of the enemy, and you were thrown in the lake of fire along with the murderers, sorcerers, and all of these other people. So he tells us what the fate of the fearful is. So now, if you all have any, I've been reading from the Yashaya scriptures. Um, I'm going to move that to the side for a minute, but now I'll come back to the book of Romans, but now we're going into the Apocrypha. So in the Apocrypha, I'm reading from 2nd Ezra, chapter 16. I'm going to read verses 36 through 40. Behold, the word of Ahiah, and receive it. Believe not the gods of whom Ahiah spake. Behold, the plague shall draw nigh, and they are not slack. As when a woman with child in the 9th month brings forth her son, within 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains, when the child comes forth, they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. Okay, I'm sorry. Verse 40. O my people, hear my word, and make yourself ready for the battle. And in those evils, be even as pilgrims are upon the earth. So he's telling us, look, the plagues are coming. They are not slack. They coming hard. They're coming as hard as a woman that's 40 weeks pregnant, getting ready to deliver. And they won't stop. And the whole earth shall feel it, and the whole earth shall mourn on every side. But be ready. Hear his word. Be ready for the battle. And be as pilgrims. Who are pilgrims? Pilgrims, Yeshaya and his disciples came as pilgrims. The definition of a pilgrim is a holy person, a sojourner, a holy person that's traveling through different countries that are not theirs. And like what did Yeshaya say? The Son of Man has nowhere, the son of Adam has nowhere to lay his head. Um, and I find it interesting that verse 36 says, Ahiah says, receive my word and believe not the gods of whom Ahiah spake. Don't believe the Christian church movement saying you're going to be raptured. I'm telling you, the plagues are coming, and they're not slack. Don't believe you're going to be in the wilderness and the whole world is going to be experiencing this and it's not going to touch you. It's too many people out here prophesying or prophesying from the desires of their own heart and still leading people astray, even as they're coming into this awakening movement. This even as they're, no longer sleepwalking or being zombies, but being those dry bones of Ezekiel 37, that flesh to flesh and bone to bone is, arising into a highest army. You're not going to wear the t-shirt or wear the jersey, but not be a part of the fight. The kingdom of heaven suffers violently, and the violent take it by force. All right, so now I'm going to jump down to 2nd Ezra 67 and read to the 78th verse. So I'm reading about 11 verses here. Thank you for your patience. Okay, 2nd Ezra 16, verse 67. Behold, Elohim himself is the judge, and fear him. Leave off from your sins and forget your iniquities, to meddle no more with them forever. So shall Elohim lead you forth and deliver you from all troubles. For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you, and feed you food. I'm sorry. and they shall take you away, certain of you, and feed you, you being idle, with things being offered unto idol. So it's saying some of us are sitting idly. Now just imagine there's no food going on. But as this nation always wants to do, oh, go, we're gonna give out, go get these food boxes, go get these, go get in line, like during the Great Depression, go get in line at the soup kitchens, or these feed the hungry organizations. We have food for you all. He's telling us that you've been idle, and now they're going to feed you with food that has been offered to idols. And a lot of food that's been offered to idols is like ground beef. I'll say one of them. If you all don't know about, like, in how that, and the Hindus and in people in India, they worship the cow, and they take the dung and rub it all on themselves. They eat it, but they worship the cow, and that's like their god. So if they have done things with the beef and then they offer it to you for consumption, guess what? That's a transgression. You ate food that's being offered to idols, and that's because you were idle. You weren't prepared during this time where he's telling you to store up and stock up. You weren't prepared. So now, oh, I got to go get a handout from the government, when he said that he will take care of you. Who are you believing? Who are you trusting in? Are you trusting in the government, or are you trusting in a higher to provide for you? And I'm sorry, I'll start reading at verse 69. And they that consent to them shall be in derision, and shall be a reproach, and trodden underfoot. So he's saying those of you that consent and go eat that meat that has been sacrificed to idols, that's your fate. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear Yashaya. And they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear Yashaya. For they shall waste and take away their goods, and they shall cast them out of their houses. And then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. So he's telling us, because in Ezekiel, he said that we were gonna be tried as gold and silver through the fire. He's telling us what that looks like. Being trodden under, being spoiled and destroyed by the enemies and those that hate him, being put out of our homes, having our goods stolen from us. And he tells us that's a description of being, one of the descriptors of being tried as gold in the fire. How are you going to handle that situation? Are you still going to glorify Yashaya in it? Is he still good when you've lost everything and your stomach is hungry? Verse 74. Hear, O ye my beloved, thus says Yashaya, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. Be not afraid, neither doubt, for Elohim is your God, and the God of them that keep my commandments and my precepts, saith Yashaya. Let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift themselves up. Woe be it unto them that are bound in their sins and covered with their iniquities, like as a field is covered with brushes. A field is covered over with brushes, and the path thereof are covered with thorns, that no man may travel through. It is left undressed and is cast into the fire to be consumed therewith. So it's saying that people that are full of sins and iniquities are like a field that's covered with bushes and thorns. You can't even see the path because it's so unkept. You can't see which way to go. He said all of that will be cast into the fire. All that brush will be cast into the fire because your garden is left undressed. All right, so we're done in Second Ezra. I'm going to read. All right, y'all, just bear with me. I have some reading in still from the Apocrypha and the Rock or Ecclesiastes chapter 2, and then we're going to go back to the Bible to Romans, and we'll be done. Okay, so in Ecclesiasticus chapter 2, I'm going to read verses 1 through 9 and then 12 through 18. My son, if thou come to serve Ahio, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in the time of trouble, but cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased in the last end. Excuse me. Whatever is brought upon thee, take it cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. For gold is tried in the fire, and is acceptable, men in the furnace of adversity. Believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way aright and trust in him. Yea, that fear Ahio, wait for his mercy, and go not aside unless you fall. You that fear Ahio, believe in him, and your reward shall not fail. Ye that fear Ahio, hope for good and for everlasting joy and mercy. All right, so that's verses 1 through 9. Now I'm going to jump down to verse 12 and 18. Woe be it unto the fearful hearts and fearful hands. I'm sorry. Let me start over. Woe be it unto them with fearful hearts and faint hands, and to the sinner that goes two ways. Woe unto them that is faint hearted, for he believed not. Therefore shall he not be defended. Woe unto you who have lost patience, and what will you do when Ahio shall visit you? They that fear Ahio will not disobey his word, and they that love him will keep his ways. They that fear Ahio will seek that which is well pleasing to him, and they that love him shall be filled with the law. They that fear Ahio will prepare their hearts, and they will humble their souls in his sight, saying, we will fall into the hands of Ahio, and not into the hands of men, for as his majesty is, so is his mercy. All right, so we're done in the Apocrypha. Now I'm going to read Romans 5, chapter 5, verses 1 through 5, and then we are done. Romans chapter 5, starting at verse 1. Therefore, being justified by faith, we have peace with Ahio through our master, Yashaya the Messiah, by whom also we have the access by faith into this grace wherein we stand and rejoice in hope of glory. the glory of Elohim. And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation works patience, and patience works experience, and experience hope. And hope makes not ashamed, because the love of Yahya is shed abroad in our hearts by the Ruach HaKodesh, which is given to us all. So remember, we just read in Ecclesiastes where they said that you will be tried and go through the fire, but be patient. Be patient and wait on him. And it's telling us that tribulation works patience. Patience works experience, and experience works hope. So, my brothers and my sisters, put your hope, put your hearts, put your trust in Yahya with all your hearts, minds, and souls. Love him with everything that's in you. Repent and sin not, so that you will be prepared to be tried. Whatever your portion is, whatever our portion is, we have to be okay with it. Whether we are set aside as those that will be tried, that will be jailed for 10 days, that will be beheaded, or those that will go through the fire, that will go through being betrayed by our families, losing our homes, losing our possessions and everything we have, and being pilgrims or sojourners in this wilderness period with our enemies after us and continuing to spoil us and come against us until we make it into the kingdom, the New Jerusalem. We won't bring the same foolishness or the same thoughts and mindsets of this world into the kingdom, and we have to be purified. We have to be refined. So it's not going to be a cakewalk. And I feel like this is the calm before the storm. Yahya is speaking. This is the calm before the storm. And so before I end this video, I'm going to pause it just for a moment and find my old phone and play a portion of the vision that I had play a portion of the video I made when I had the open vision of what to prepare. And I'll tell you what I saw. I saw a modern day genocide, a modern day Rwanda or Nazi Germany. And all Israel is not Israel. I saw people that were black and white coming against us, slaughtering us and leaving us for dead. I saw the carcasses of God's people in the streets being ate by vultures. It was terrible. And I'll just play a bit of the video. One moment.
Be with oh, Jesus. Oh, God, please. Have mercy, Lord. Have mercy. Oh, my God. Have mercy on us. Christian persecution is coming.
So I was in my prayer closet, and I had that open vision, and he said, tell my people to prepare. But I was so I was so distraught. I made this video. This video was about 6 minutes of me just screaming, crying, ranting. I couldn't even post. I was so unconsolable. I from what I saw. So he said the same way that he was hated, that we will be hated. And I'm gonna go ahead and end this video, but I'm just like, there's just so much deception. People are telling the body they're going to be raptured, or they're going to be in a wilderness and won't have to go through it. And that is not what the Bible is saying. So as best as we can, we have to be preparing our heart, because there's a scripture that says we can't even think, if the thought comes to our mind of denouncing him as we're going through that period, we're not worthy. Unlike, well, dang, Peter got 3 times. Peter was able to deny him 3 times and, and get a redo. But we don't have that opportunity. So we need to prepare ourselves now. You all have a blessed and wonderful week. And I pray that, search it out. Pray to him for your own answers, and search the scriptures for yourselves. And until the next video, you all be blessed.